So welcome back to the channel. And about a week ago, I picked up a cheap steam machine, brand new, sealed in the box for 400 US dollars. That's right, 400 US dollars. And in that video, I did my unboxing and my initial thoughts of it. So definitely check out that video if you're curious on the story. And after unboxing it and using it, I decided to make it my daily driver for about a week. In my experience, to sum it up, outside of the price they go for, $1,049, it's actually been pretty good. Plug it in, play, you're good to go. The Steam controller feels great. You could turn your TV on with it and the volume and all that stuff and just not even need a remote. But anyways, that's a thing in itself. And it performs pretty good. And the size? Folks, this is a pretty awesome size. I mean, tuck it away somewhere in your living room, great in the bedroom. I mean, it is very convenient, I will say that. But going back to it, the price. Here on DLM Tech Garage, we like to save money. And how do we save money? We go out and we buy used components. We flip them, we sell them, we go on the parts hunts and all that type of stuff. And we don't go with the latest and greatest. In fact, on this channel, we've shown many times that older hardware still has good value and you can still get what you need to get done. And after going through all those thoughts in my head, I got to thinking about my ITX PC. That's right. This is my ITX PC, my bedroom PC. And this thing is 6 years old. That's right, 6 years old. Ryzen 9 5900X CPU, which is now 6 years old, which is insane. But the CPU is still no slouch. In this video, we're gonna go over whether a 6-year-old kind of put together PC, if it's cheaper and better than the Steam Deck. So let's talk about it. So let's do a quick history on my ITX PC. So this thing was built roughly, I wanna say about 4 years ago when the CPU was already 2 years old. And it was bought because the wife kicked me out. That's right. She kicked me out, so I built an ITX rig. There's a whole video on that. But in a nutshell, my main rig is in the living room. The family wants to be in the living room, and while gaming, it got a little loud. You get excited with the games, you turn up the volume, and yeah, she was like, no, you gotta go. You gotta go. So now that I had no access to my main rig, and it's too big for the bedroom, I built this. And my wife loved me for it. She was like, oh, awesome, I could kick you out anytime I want because you have a small portable rig. Perfect. So I've had this for about 4 years. I started off with a larger case, Frapple No 202, a bunch of other case reiterations. And throughout the years, I've been able to upgrade it and make it better, which gives this thing a lot more value. But now let's go over the price and the value of this PC. So now it's a Ryzen 9 5900X, 32 gigs of DDR4, 1 terabyte NVMe, and an RTX 4060. And because it has an Asus Strix X570 motherboard, this Jones Bow case, and either the Be Quiet or Noxtro cooler, I can't remember which one I went with. This computer right now, you can build it for roughly 1,300 US dollars. That's right, 1,300 US dollars. Now you're saying, wait, that's about $300 more than the Steam machine. You're right, but we have more storage. We have more cores, 12 cores, 24 threads, and the Steam machine, their graphics card is equivalent to an RTX 3060, 4050, I think an RX 7600. Definitely something to think of. Plus, there's room for upgrades, and we'll talk about that later on. So $1,300. But now let's get more to the practical price range of, can we build something like this, still used and cheap, a lot better? Yeah, you can. Instead of going with the Ryzen 9 5900X, we can go with the Ryzen 5 5600X, which is equivalent and slightly better than the CPU. 16 gigs of DDR4 versus 32. And we'll actually have dual channel versus the single channel that this has. And we can go to a 500 gig NVMe just to help bring costs down. A Thermalright Assassin cooler. We can still keep the case if ITX size is what you want, or you can actually save some money and go MATX, which those cases are a lot cheaper, but we'll just go with the ITX. And that actually brings our cost down to about $840, probably a little less than that. And I'll post those numbers and parts on the screen. So I'm just gonna say $850. That's right, $850. $200 cheaper than this. Now, yes, you get the controller, but honestly, an Xbox controller just works just as good. And you can get any other cheap controller, an Xbox controller, which you can find on the Facebook Marketplace for about $30, $40, maybe even $20, but you're still $200 cheaper compared to this. But now the question is, what is the performance and is it worth it? Let's find out. Now we're gonna switch to a bit of a montage with some footage in the background showing the performance differences from the Ryzen 9 5900X, because that's what we are comparing, not the Ryzen 5 5600X, which would be slightly lower, but probably slightly a little better than this one, but Ryzen 9 5900X compared to this. Now, if you're saying, well, the Ryzen 9 5900X is still $300 more than this, we can actually cut the cost a lot more by switching the motherboard, the 16 gigs, the 500 gigs, and we can actually bring the cost down of the Ryzen 9 5900X to about $950 just in that, which still makes this a lot cheaper than this by $100. So let's go ahead, let's go to the footage comparison of the 5900X compared to the Steam Machine, and then we're gonna talk about it because I think we got some interesting results. So I chose 3 games: Ratchet & Clank, God of War, and Spider-Man 2. But going back, all games were on 1440p, combination of medium to high, FSR enabled, and I kept the FSR to balance. And I would turn it off, and then I would turn that stuff on, just so we kind of see the difference with the fake stuff versus the real stuff. That's the kind of best way for me to describe that whole frame gen and all that type of stuff. So starting with FSR enabled and all that type of stuff, as you can see, all games perform really well on both machines, but obviously, I guess I'll call this one, the real PC performs 20 upwards of 30% better, which leads me to the next thing. We turn FSR and all that type of stuff off. And what happens? The game looks so much better on this one. You don't have the blurs and the stutters, and everything is just more real compared to this one. Now this one, you turn the frame gen and all that stuff off, we got dips to below 60 frames per second, just depending on the game. While with the real PC, turning frame gen and all that stuff off, we were still able to get over 60 frames per second. But the biggest difference is that the quality and the looks of the game on this is so much better compared to the Steam Machine. Now, as far as the Ryzen 5 5600, just looking at some numbers in comparison to these two, probably a 10% difference, which at certain points is negligible, but definitely something to consider for the $100 less that you would pay for that versus the 5900X. Now, both these machines, they perform well, and I'll give it to the Steam Machine. It does well, but it's just fake. If you really want to get higher frames per second and all that type of stuff, you're gonna have to use the FSR and the frame gen and all that type of stuff, and that really helps it to get consistent. My first experience on the last video, it was very laggy, and that's because I was running 30 frames per second because the FSR and all that type of stuff was disabled. But then when I turn it on, now I'm getting 80, 90 frames per second and it runs great, but we lose that realness and that clearness, quality of the game. So as far as who's the winner of this bout, I gotta give it to the real PC. And in 2 more other categories that we're gonna talk about briefly, let's see which one of these 2 takes the ring. So gaming performance, this one takes it. But now let's talk about longevity. And what I mean by longevity, not how long it's gonna last before it breaks, but as far as like how much life can you get out of it. Now here's the thing with the Steam Machine. Is it upgradable? Yes and no. Memory and storage, if you can afford it, you can upgrade it. But the CPU and GPU, it's all built into one piece. That's it. So in 3 years, when it starts to show its age, not much you can do about that. And frame gen and all that type of stuff is only gonna get you so far. And that's saying 3 years. Who's to say that in 1 or 2 years, when games start getting better, this thing might struggle. So definitely something to consider. But as far as longevity, I gotta give it to this. Hear me out, folks. This is a 6-year-old PC, but I can still upgrade it. I got an RTX 4060 in here. I could throw in a 5060. That's right, a 5060 and get more performance out of it. The 5900X is pretty good, but if I really wanted to push it a little more, I could get a 5950X. So I still have more of an upgrade path. So as far as longevity, we can definitely upgrade this one. We could probably keep this thing around for another couple more years and it'll still hold up pretty well. But the Steam Machine, like I said, what are you gonna do when the CPU and GPU dates itself? Something to consider. Now, the third category that I would say we need to talk about is the ease of use. And what I mean by that is a Steam Machine, you buy it, you plug it in, set it up, takes about 20-30 minutes with firmware and all that type of stuff, you're ready to go. This, you gotta build it yourself. And if you hire somebody to do it, you're gonna have to pay another $100 for that, which still might keep you cheaper compared to the Steam Machine. So now with this, you gotta learn how to build a computer, learn how to install Windows, learn how to undervolt it. Same thing with the GPU, just to get the temperatures manageable. But even though I got the temperature manageable, it's a little loud. It's not terrible compared to before I did the unvolting, but it's still loud and audible. But the Steam Machine, where I gotta give it to them, it's way quieter. You can barely hear it when gaming under full load. So as far as buying it, setting it up and ready to go within 20-30 minutes, yeah, Steam Machine. But as far as a desktop PC, it's a little more involved if you're not tech savvy. So is my 5900X 6-year-old PC better than the Steam Machine? Absolutely, but that's coming from a techie standpoint. Price to performance is there, upgradability is there, and it's more diverse. Price point to kind of put it in comparison in the computer market, that's where it misses the mark. Had it been cheaper, I think it's great, but it is what it is on that. As far as my plans for the Steam Machine, I really don't know. I'm into it for $400 and yeah, I can sell it for $800. Still double the money that I got into it. I kind of like the old girl, so maybe I'll hold on to her. Now, as far as a travel companion, absolutely not. This is my winner right over here, but the biggest thing, like I talked about in the last video, one of the reasons why I jumped on this deal, besides the fact it was $400, was the Steam controller. That I've been using for about a week. I love it. I love it. I'll never go back to the Xbox controller again. So with all that being said, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, concerns, criticism. Is building an ITX PC way more worth it compared to a Steam Machine? What are your thoughts on the Steam Machine? And I know I didn't touch on this in the video, but we might follow up with it. Is a comparable gaming laptop better than a Steam Machine? If you like this video, definitely hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and as always, we'll see what we come up with next.